Imagine you finally make it home after 2 decades away. You survived the war, the monsters, the long road back, and you've just cleared your own house of every enemy in it. All that's left is to climb up the stairs to the one person you crossed the world for. And when you reach her, she looks at you like a stranger. She will not accept that it's you. You could show her the old scar, tell her things no one else alive could know. None of it matters. All that time, the false hope, the men who looked her in the eye and lied. She's built a wall nothing gets through. So instead of running to you, she does something cold. She gives a servant one small ordinary order, and the second she says it, you understand. She isn't asking, she's checking. Because there's one thing in this house only the two of you have ever known, and she's about to use it to find out if you're a fake. This is the story of how the most cunning man who ever lived finally met his match, and what it really takes to come home. Let me tell you this story from the Odyssey. It was over. The suitors were dead. Every man who'd moved into Odysseus' house, eaten his herds, courted his wife, and plotted to kill his son, gone. The hall was his again. The bow had spoken. 20 years of waiting and disguise had finally paid off. And there was just one thing left to do. The simplest thing in the world, you'd think, go upstairs and tell his wife he was home. It turned out to be the hardest thing of all. The old nurse, Euryclea, went up first. She raised Odysseus from a boy. She'd known him days ago, the moment she washed his feet and felt the old scar. Now, she ran up the stairs to Penelope's room, breathless, and shook her awake. "He's home," she said. "Come and see with your own eyes. The old beggar, it was him all along. Odysseus, he's back, and the suitors are dead, every one of them." And Penelope did not leap out of bed. She looked at the old woman, and she told her in so many words, "You've lost your mind. My husband is dead. He died far from home 20 years ago. And if some stranger has killed those men downstairs, then it isn't a man at all. It's a god in disguise, come to punish them. Don't you dare make me hope, not again." Because that was the thing. Hope had nearly killed her. For 20 years, men had come to her door with stories. "I've seen him, he's alive, he's coming home." And every time, she'd let herself believe a little, and every time, it came to nothing. She had learned the hard way to trust no one and to fall for nothing. But the nurse begged, so Penelope came down. And this is what she did. She walked into that hall where her husband was sitting after 20 years, and she did not run to him. She crossed the room, sat down across from him, and she just looked. Studied his face in the firelight, silent, the way you'd study a stranger. Her own son couldn't bear it. "Mother," Telemachus said, "what is wrong with you? Your heart is harder than any stone. Any other wife alive would have her arms around him by now. How can you just sit there?" But she barely heard him. She was watching. Now, before you decide was she being cold or not, understand what she was protecting. In her world, the gods really did walk among men, wearing borrowed faces. And for 20 years, liars really had come to her door. To throw herself at the wrong man, an imposter, a god playing a game, a beautiful lie would be the one betrayal of everything she'd held onto. She had kept faith for 2 decades. She would not be made a fool of in the last hour. So the man who had beaten every monster the world could throw at him sat in his own hall, home at last, and could not get through to his own wife. Then the goddess Athena stepped in. She watched over Odysseus the whole way home, and she wasn't going to let it end like this. So she washed the years and rags away. She made him tall again and strong and shining. The king, Penelope remembered, the man who'd sailed off 2 decades ago. He sat there now looking almost like a god himself. Surely now, you'd think, surely now she'd know him. She didn't move, and it broke something in him. "Strange woman," he said. "No other wife alive would keep her own husband at arm's length after 20 years. Your heart is made of iron." And stung, he turned to the nurse and told her, never mind, just make him up a bed somewhere. He'd sleep alone since his wife's heart had turned to stone. And that was the moment Penelope had been waiting for, because now, very calmly, she sprang her trap. Yes, she said to the old nurse, gently, like she was only being a good host. "He must be tired, Euryclea. Go and make up his bed. Move it out of our bedroom, the one he built, and set it up out here. Pile it with fleeces and warm blankets. Make him comfortable." A simple thing. Move the bed. Now, only 3 people on this earth had ever known what that bed really was. Years ago, when Odysseus built their bedroom, there had been an olive tree growing on the spot, a living tree thick as a pillar rooted deep into the ground. And instead of cutting it down, he built the whole room around it. He took that trunk, still rooted in the earth, and shaped it with his own hands into one of the 4 posts of their bed, which meant the bed could not be moved. Not carried, not shifted, not dragged into another room, not unless someone took an axe to the post and cut it free at the root. It was fixed to the earth itself. Only 3 people knew that: Odysseus, Penelope, and one trusted servant who'd been there. So, when Penelope said, "Move the bed," she wasn't giving an order at all. She was setting a trap. The one trap on earth that only her real husband could fall into. And she sat back and watched his face. And Odysseus walked straight into it. He didn't catch what she was doing. He just heard someone talk about moving his bed, the bed he'd built with his own hands, and it lit a fire in him. "Move the bed," he said. "Who moved it? Woman, that bed cannot be moved. I built it myself. There was an olive tree growing where our room now stands, alive and rooted in the ground, and I built our chamber around it, and I carved one of its living branches into a bedpost with these hands. No man alive could shift that bed an inch, not unless he took a blade to the trunk and cut it loose at the root. Tell me, has someone cut down our tree?" And the second the words left his mouth, the whole room changed. Because there it was, the secret, the one thing no imposter could ever have known. Not a god wearing his face, not a liar with a clever story, only the man who had knelt in that room 20 years ago and built the bed around the tree. He hadn't proven himself with the scar on his leg, not with the bow or the bodies in the hall or even his own name. He'd proven it with a secret about a bed. 20 years, a war, and a row of dead men in the hall. And the thing that finally proves who he is a bed. If that's the kind of ending that gets you, then you've been in exactly the right place for 13 episodes. Make sure you're subscribed, hit it, and let's bring him the rest of the way home. And Penelope's knees gave out from under her. The wall she'd held up for 20 years against every liar and every false dawn, came down all at once. She crossed the room, and she threw her arms around his neck, and she held on, weeping, kissing his face. "Don't be angry with me," she said. "Don't hate me for being careful. I've been so afraid all this time that some man would come with a clever story and trick me. So many of them tried, but no one else alive knew about the bed. Only you. It's you. It's really you." And he held her, and he wept too. The man who hadn't shed a tear for any monster, who'd kept his face like stone through giants and gods and 20 years of grief, finally broke, holding his wife. And the goddess did one last kindness. Far off, at the edge of the world, Athena reached out and held back the dawn. She kept the night long so that these two, after 20 years apart, could have one whole night that didn't end too soon. Look at what finally brought him home. It wasn't his strength that beat the monsters years ago. It wasn't his cunning that won him the bow. The thing that opened the last door was a secret about a bed, shared by 2 people and no one else alive. He didn't cross the world for a house or a throne or a war won. He crossed it for the one person who knew him all the way down, and who loved him enough to make him prove it. And their marriage, in the end, was exactly like that bed, built around something living and rooted that nothing on earth could move without cutting it down. For 20 years, he had survived by being nobody, a name he gave a monster in a cave, a disguise he wore into his own home. And in the end, he became himself again, not by shouting his name across the water, but by whispering a secret in the dark to the one person who had never stopped waiting. The journey was never really about the sea. It was about this room. So this one's for two people. First, the person in your life who knows you all the way down, the one you'd never have to prove yourself to, send it to them. And second, anyone who loves a story that takes you all the way home, share it with them too. And if you came all this way with me, all 13 episodes, thank you, genuinely. If you're not ready for the journey to end, here's the good news. It doesn't have to. There's a whole second Odyssey waiting for members. The chapters that never made the main channel. The princess who washed him up out of the sea. The son who sailed off to find a father he'd never met. The stories I tell just for the people who really love this stuff. When you join, you keep them alive. So thank you for being one of them. And right now on your screen is the whole Odyssey saga, from the very first chapter all the way to this one, every story in one place. If someone you know hasn't taken this journey yet, this is where they start. One man, one cave, and a single word that cost him everything. Click it right now and begin it all over again from the very beginning, and I'll see you in the next story.